Jujutsu Kaisen has 2 whole schools full of up-and-coming sorcerers. These kids are the next generation of Jujutsu society, and now that so many elders are dead, they're more important than ever. But how many of them do you know? And how much do you know about them? Let's go over every Jujutsu student and see if you can name everyone on the list. Let's start easy. Yuji Itadori's come a long way despite not really getting much time to, learn anything. He's picked up a lot of Jujutsu sorcery as he's gone along. Most notably, Black Flash. He doesn't have much of a wider skill set, but when it comes to a straight-up fight, Yuji is extremely solid. Pretty impressive for a normal kid who stumbled into these events trying to save his friends. Well, that's what we all assumed he was. A later revelation made it clear that Yuji becoming Sukuna's vessel was probably intentional. Kenjaku somehow took control of Yuji's mom's body. Grandpa Itadori makes it clear that she wasn't able to give birth before that point. So Yuji's actually Kenjaku's kid. Kenjaku likely did something to him in the womb. It explains why Yuji was able to eat Sukuna's fingers while keeping control of his own body. This is likely the original source of Yuji's physical power. Most Jujutsu sorcerers can enhance their strength by using cursed energy, but Yuji goes beyond pretty much anyone else we've seen in terms of direct physical strength. This was shown early on, before Yuji even had any cursed energy. But it is getting ridiculous. This guy's out here throwing cars at his enemies, dodging attacks that go with the speed of sound, and jumping multiple stories into the air, all without magic. And he doesn't get that that's not normal. While he's a nice guy, Yuji's not a squeaky clean protagonist. Before the series started, he was hanging out in pachinko parlors, gambling despite being underage. He later followed that up by joining an underground Jujutsu fight club. Don't expect him to play fair. Mai Zeinen was kinda always doomed. She and her twin sister Maki were born into a family that never valued their female heirs. Maki leaving and becoming a Jujutsu sorcerer was what pushed Mai into the job, even though it wasn't what she wanted. Mai never liked learning Jujutsu. She was scared of curses even as a kid, always wanting to run away from them. But she felt like she had to follow Maki, her twin being so bold and following her dreams. The pressure from her family definitely didn't help. With Maki running around having turned against the clan, having a dutiful female Jujutsu sorcerer made for a good propaganda move. Ironically, while they spent their lives fighting against each other, Mai's bond with Maki held both of these sisters back from their full potential. In Mai's case, that led to her cursed energy being drained away. That would be a problem for any sorcerer, but it was catastrophic for Mai. Her curse technique, construction, requires a massive level of cursed energy to be used properly. We saw later how much potential it really had, with the ancient sorcerer Yoruzu being able to fight back against Sukuna with it. She used it to make different types of armor and weapons. While she was able to do all that stuff, Mai was struggling to form even a single bullet. She was forced to try and use dirty tricks just to keep up with her sister, and even that wasn't enough. Mai was skilled with weaponry, able to even threaten Kenjaku with her precision sniping. But her final fate was bleak. Mai gave up her life in the basement of the Zeinen house with none of her friends for company. She's left her twin sister alone in the world. But with that last sacrifice, she handed Maki both the full power of her heavenly restriction and a weapon powerful enough to change the Jujutsu world. Aoi Toto. Now there's a guy you're never gonna forget. The big guy's one of the most impressive students from Kyoto or Tokyo, with the raw strength and cursed energy to match disaster curses in hand-to-hand combat. But there are a lot of powerful fighters in Jujutsu Kaisen. What sets Toto apart is his smarts. It's easy to write Toto off as a meathead. He enjoys a good fight and is very dedicated to his Takara-chan, but he's far from dumb. His curse technique, Boogie Woogie, lets him swap positions with his opponent with one clap of his hands. To get the most use out of it in a fight, you have to be smart about when you swap. Toto's trained extensively with it and is extremely sharp, swapping whenever it helps him. He'll even fake his enemies out, clapping without activating Boogie Woogie. He's dedicated enough with his studies to master Simple Domain. It's no wonder he's ranked as a grade 1 sorcerer. Even outright losing a hand isn't enough to stop him. We've seen Toto activate Boogie Woogie by clapping his hand against someone else's. This is one determined fighter. Never count him out. Next, there's Nobara Kujisaki, the small-town sorcerer. She grew up in an isolated rural village, but didn't really fit in. She was drawn to outsiders like Fumi and Saori, the people her village wouldn't accept. She wanted to meet up with her teacher one day in Tokyo. Ironically though, Nobara's still connected to the village she wanted to get away from. While she's not part of a major Jujutsu family, Nobara does have a blood connection to sorcery. Her straw doll technique is inherited from her grandmother, who taught her how to use it before she came to Jujutsu High. Interestingly, Grandma Kujisaki originally stopped Nobara from attending the school despite teaching her sorcery. Anyway, Nobara's curse technique is versatile, letting her launch nails at stuff, then beat up her doll to do damage to the target she's hit with resonance. But Nobara has come up with a move no one else on this list can do. She is able to use Black Flash through straw doll technique, boosting the damage of her long-range strike. There's only one other sorcerer we've seen combo Black Flash with a distant curse technique like this, and that is Satoru Gojo. The weirdest part of Nobara's path, however, has been her final fate. While fighting Mahito during the Shibuya incident, Nobara died? It was never made clear if that attack killed her, and the characters just stopped discussing her fate. Maybe she passed away in the aftermath of Shibuya, dying in the cursed spirit rampage. Maybe her grandmother showed up to save her. Who knows? Next, we've got Panda. Yeah, he's not human, but he's a student like everyone else. He's Principal Yaga's masterwork, a fully independent cursed corpse who can live and grow on his own. Yaga put so much of himself into Panda. They were like father and son, a real family. Panda himself doesn't have a conventional curse technique, but that's because he's the balanced core. He can draw on the abilities of his siblings, Gorilla and Triceratops, to change his form and use their abilities. This was enough to break Ultimate Mechamaru, proving that Panda was more than just a doll. But the big guy's been having a rough time since Shibuya. Panda has had a lot of reasons to cry, and is now running around with this new, adorably tiny body. It's cost him a lot of his cursed energy reserves, but unlike injured humans, he's kinda a machine. That opens the door for him being repaired. Kinji Hikari and Kirara Hoshi left Jujutsu High together due to their frustration with the higher-ups. Having to answer to a bunch of stuffy old guys wasn't their speed. They founded the Gachinko Fight Club, pitting Jujutsu sorcerers against each other and running a gambling ring around the results. Kirara kept the office safe with Love Rendezvous, warping space to keep enemies away, while Hikari was the toughest fighter in the place thanks to Idle Death Gamble. The guy's borderline indestructible so long as he keeps winning at pachinko. But now that Gojo's killed all those old guys at Jujutsu headquarters, Kirara and Hikari might be convinced to become a part of a more legitimate new Jujutsu society, one that's okay with tech-themed Jujutsu abilities. Momo Nishimiya tends to fade into the background. She's just Broomstick Girl, that Kyoto second year who fought Nobara during the Goodwill event. But we learned a fair bit about her during that fight. She's felt a lot of expectations as a female sorcerer, trying to be both beautiful and flawless in skill. It's clear Momo's been pushing herself, and she hasn't had much success. She wasn't even able to save her classmate Mai despite knowing she was in danger. As proud as Momo likes to act, it's clear she cares about her team. Failing to save Mai crushes her emotionally. But don't worry, Momo, you're not the most useless student on this list. We'll get to them later. Momo really hasn't had a chance to show off her skills since the Goodwill event. She still managed to work with Jujutsu High's forces during the culling game, but mostly as a messenger thanks to her flight technique. Still, she can fight, blasting people with energy from her broom. If you need to engage an enemy at range, or one that's moving really fast, Momo would be a good choice. Maki Zeinin brings us an interesting question. What even is a Jujutsu sorcerer? Maki doesn't have cursed energy, but she still fights cursed spirits. She's been trained as a sorcerer, ranked as a sorcerer. She's as much of a sorcerer as anyone else, despite not knowing any Jujutsu sorcery. Maki's powers have evolved to the same level as those of Toji Zeinin. She's completely free of cursed energy, she's got superhuman strength, speed, resilience, and the ability to flat out ignore domains. She's also now wielding the Split Soul Katana, Mai's last gift to her that strikes directly at the soul of a target. So yeah, she's now got the same threat level as Mahito, the disaster curse who could kill you with one touch. Now add on the strength and speed Toji used when killing Satoru Gojo. Maki's kinda ridiculous. She proved that with her massacre of the Zeinin clan. They had military units of Jujutsu sorcerers, and they couldn't measure up to Maki once she fully unlocked her heavenly restriction. When it comes to how many high-power enemies they've killed, no other Jujutsu student can compete with Maki. And hey, we've got her nephew up next, the cheeriest Jujutsu sorcerer ever, Megami Fushiguro. Yeah, Megami's never been a happy guy. He's the son of an assassin, Toji Zeinin. Toji left his family behind, always shunned by them because of his freakish absence of cursed energy. But Megami was born with the 10 Shadows technique, a rare gift that the seinen want their heirs to have. Toji knew his family would try to take his son away because of that and told Gojo about Megami before finally dying. Also, no, we still don't know why Toji gave him a girl's name, though we can make a guess. The seinen don't care about their female heirs. Toji, who wanted to escape the clan, was likely hoping they'd overlook his kid with that little bit of camouflage. Anyway, Toji's death led to Jujutsu High supporting Megami and his sister through school, letting them stay outside the control of the seinen clan. With so much help, it's not surprising that Megami is one of the most dedicated and serious sorcerers we've seen among the students. He's been training for this since he was a kid. Still, he has a soft spot for his friends, though he'd never admit it. He fought Sukuna one-on-one to try and save Yuji. In terms of raw power, he might be the strongest of the main trio. He's the only student in the entire cast to manifest his own domain expansion, though his Chimera Shadow Garden isn't perfect. Megami's just a stand-up guy. There's a reason Maki pushed him to become the new head of the seinen clan. Good thing the heroes have Megami on their side for the culling game, right? Noritoshi Kamo is an aristocratic third year that has always been very defensive about his status as the heir of the Kamo family, a long line of Jujutsu sorcerers. It's what made him the leader of the Kyoto students. Well, the Kyoto students except for Toto. The big guy's always just did his own thing. But over time, Noritoshi's source of strength has mostly fallen apart. It wasn't enough that Kenjaku turned out to be his hated ancestor. The Brain Goblin stole control of all the Kamo clan's resources from Noritoshi and threw him out on the street. Denied his family home and fortune, Noritoshi tried to go see his mother again after that, hoping to reconnect with her. But she had a new husband and a new child. With the Kamo clan helping Kenjaku and his mother's family not having a place for him, Noritoshi's thrown himself into the fighting. Hence his new, less traditional haircut. And he's a powerful fighter. The Kamo clan was a part of the big three Jujutsu families for a reason. At a glance, blood manipulation is significantly more limited than either the 10 Shadows technique or Limitless. But Choso's shown off its potential with every fight he's been in. Noritoshi doesn't have the sheer brute strength of the cursed painting, but creative use of blood can make up the gap. He's also one of the few sorcerers who actually uses a weapon. Noritoshi's arrows are tipped with his own blood, allowing extremely precise control of them at range. However, as far as we know, he's only ever had access to a regular bow. With the power we've seen from cursed tools, an enchanted bow could give Noritoshi a big power-up. Kasumi Miwa is a unique one on this list. She is the only Jujutsu student we've seen that has never had a cursed technique. Sure, we've seen some characters lose their techniques, but Miwa started out with nothing. She only became a sorcerer to try and find a way to provide for her family. Her sword skills come from training in New Shadow style, the so-called domain for the weak that was supposed to allow average sorcerers to fight powerful opponents. It works for people like Kusakabe, but Miwa's had an outright terrible track record. She lost to Maki during the Goodwill event. Her surprise attack on Kenjaku completely failed. She is easily the weakest Jujutsu sorcerer we've ever seen. Junpei might be stronger than her, and he was never properly trained in Jujutsu. But Miwa hasn't given up. She's remained with Jujutsu High's forces even during the culling game. You have to respect that kind of determination. And Kusakabe's managed to achieve grade 1 despite not having a cursed technique. There's nothing stopping Miwa from doing the same. She just needs time to learn. Yuta Okotsu is either the greatest next generation sorcerer or a failed gojo successor who gave up most of his potential. Depends on who you ask. He spent a long time away from Japan training his cursed energy, so he's certainly good at self-improvement. The only question is just how powerful he can get. His cursed technique copy gives him amazing versatility. Yuta can essentially become a one-man fighting team using all of the cursed techniques he needs. But the 5-minute limiter is extremely steep. An extended battle doesn't play to Yuta's strengths, and no amount of training can really overcome that. Still, he's far from defenseless outside his time limit. He still has Rika, a copy of the cursed spirit he let go at the end of JJK0. They fight as a team, watching each other's backs. Toge Inumaki has never really gotten a chance to shine in Jujutsu Kaisen. He's another fighter who has largely been relegated to the background. Still, his cursed speech should not be underestimated. Anything Inumaki says is manifested, from attacks to orders. He's even able to use it over phone lines, and if you're face to face with him, he is a great support fighter. If the rest of the group can keep him safe, he can interfere with enemies from a massive range. Inumaki's curse technique requires him to mostly talk in code to avoid accidentally triggering his technique. It's kind of funny, but it is an inherited technique. Inumaki grew up with a family who would have had a lot of problems talking to him. If he spoke freely, he would run the risk of hurting someone. So let's break down Inumaki's code words, because yeah, it is not just gibberish. The meanings are consistent. Salmon is yes. Fish flakes is no. Kelp is hello. Mustard leaf is concerned. He's seeing something he needs to deal with. Salmon roe is kinda a smug, I knew it. Spicy cod roe is cheering someone on. You can do it. Tuna 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 and tuna mayo are more general words used to call someone's attention to an object, trying to force them to act on it. It's more about the inflection with these. And caviars, well, you don't want to know. Even the curse speech user needs a curse word, right? Do you know Kokichi Muta? If you don't remember that name, he's the one who pilots Mechamaru. Kokichi had a ton of potential as a sorcerer thanks to his heavenly restriction. Both his legs were useless. He had no right arm. His skin can't be touched by natural light. He was in constant pain. He's kinda like the guy from SpongeBob that was born with glass bones and paper skin. It meant that he never had a chance for a normal life. But all of that boosted Kokichi's cursed energy to an insane level. Thanks to how much energy he accumulated, he was able to fight with so much raw power that it could be felt all over Japan. But Kokichi's real strength was his mind. This guy was able to build Cursed Corpse technology way more advanced than anything we've ever seen from more experienced sorcerers. Kokichi never had Principal Yaga's secret formula on making independent puppets, so he had to infuse any puppet he used with his own cursed energy. He could fight you from anywhere in Japan. When forced to take you on in person, he could bring a giant magic robot to the fight. Kokichi could have become the next Principal Yaga, using his puppets like an army to help secure a wide area. And now we're on to the next big name in Jujutsu sorcery. Arata Nita. You know, Nita. He's the healer guy from Kyoto who helped Toto and Nobara during the Shibuya incident. We didn't see much of him, and he's a very nervous dude. His best bedside manner amounts to, I did what I could, don't blame me if she dies. Not exactly someone who inspires a lot of trust. Still, he's got a curse technique extremely useful for his job. Arata can't actually heal anyone, but he stops the flow of blood and limits the target's pain. It'll give another sorcerer a chance to heal themselves properly with reverse curse technique. Even if they're not up to the task, Arata can help them make it to the doctor's tent and stop injuries from getting worse. We don't know a ton about his past, but there's more to him than you might think. He's got a big sister already working in the Jujutsu world, Araki Nita, the assistant manager. It's pretty clear the Nita clan are a Jujutsu family with 2 sorcerer kids in one generation. There must have been quite a bit of pressure on Arata to become a Jujutsu sorcerer. The fanbook notes his main cause of stress as being ordered around by his sister. But yeah, that is every Jujutsu High student. In the comments, let us know your favorite of the bunch, and perhaps more interestingly, your absolute least favorite. As always, I'm Sliceable Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.